Good evening, everyone. We will now call to order this meeting of the West Palm Beach City Commission. Today is August 19th, 2024, and the time is 5 p.m. We will start this meeting off as we do all of our meetings with a moment of silence, please. Madam President, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'd like to remind everyone of the rules of civility and decorum which govern this body and this meeting. Officials shall be recognized by the chair and should not interrupt the speaker. Public comment shall be addressed to the City Commission as a whole and not to any individual on the dais or in the audience. Displays of anger, rudeness, ridicule, impatience, lack of respect, and personal attacks are strictly prohibited. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, and similar demonstrations should not be permitted. Please govern yourselves accordingly, as offenders may be removed from the meeting. Also, any person wishing to speak shall complete a comment card for each agenda item the person wishes to address, and that comment card shall include the person's full name, address, and the numbered agenda item. If it doesn't contain that information, the card will not be entered for the record. Thank you for following those guidelines. Ms. Johnson, are there any additions, deletions, reorganization of the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, we do have a proposed change for item 10.3, which relates to second reading of the ordinance making amendments to the sign code. We would like to continue that item to a date certain of September 30th to take place in the Commission Chambers at 401 Clematis Street, West Palm Beach.
Okay, we'll need a motion to that effect, correct?
Yes.
Okay, when we get to that, we will make that motion. Okay, thank you. We do have a proclamation proclaiming August 24th, 2024 as Ukraine Independence Day. For centuries, the Ukrainian people have courageously fought for their freedom, self-governance, and national identity, overcoming numerous challenges and preserving their rich cultural heritage. On August 24th, 1991, Ukraine achieved independence from the Soviet Union, marking a historic milestone in the Ukrainian people's journey towards freedom, democracy, and self-determination. The Ukrainian American community in West Palm Beach has steadfastly celebrated Ukraine's Independence Day, honoring the sacrifices and resilience of their ancestors and the Ukrainian people as a whole. The City of West Palm Beach recognizes the importance of promoting cultural diversity, fostering international understanding, and supporting the aspirations of all nations toward freedom, justice, and independence. We acknowledge Russia's unprovoked war, which has persisted for over 9 years, and stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian people in their pursuit of peace, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. Therefore, I, Keith A. James, Mayor of the City of West Palm Beach, do hereby proclaim August 24, 2024 as Ukraine Independence Day. I call upon all residents to join in commemorating this significant occasion, to honor the Ukrainian American community, and to recognize the Ukrainian people's enduring spirit and their ongoing struggle for freedom and self-governance. Here to accept this proclamation is the Ukrainian Association of Florida President, Dmytro Bashkor, co-founder Natalka Bashkor, Communications Manager Yulia Dryaka, Art Ambassador Oksana Orban, Cultural Ambassador Lily Yushilson, and IT Support Sergey Babchenko. I will come down and present the proclamation.
Turn around this way. We're going to have a photographer right here. And they'll have the flags on the outside. Mr. Mayor is in the middle.
All right, who am I presenting this to?
President.
Okay, come on, Mr. President. This is yours. Someone wants to know if I took it or We'll start. Anyway, okay.
Sir, right there. If you'll hold your hand up, go ahead and hold the flag.
Okay, can we, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, hold on. Any more? Can we get them all? Yeah, absolutely. We good? Okay, do you want to say a few more?
Yes. We'd like,
Oh,
to present this book. It's kind of introduction into our Ukrainian traditions and culture.
okay.
You can find recipes here.
Recipes,
So
yes.
please explore.
You know I like to eat, don't
can
you?
taste our culture. Actually, it's a real sample. And
like
also,
candy?
please.
Oh, yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
okay.
And also, we are looking forward to seeing
Yeah.
you guys.
All right. For the record, I'm presenting this to my assistant city administrator. I want anybody saying I accepted any gifts and possible. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, can I say a couple of words?
No, absolutely, yes.
Yep, can I use the microphone?
Yes, right there, okay.
Dear Mayor James, dear city commissioners, and everyone, we are very honored to be here today and to accept the proclamation for the Independence Day of Ukraine. It has a tremendous historical significance. It is a powerful symbol of the support by the American nation. And this document is so important for us at these challenging times, when the Ukrainian nation is literally fighting on the front line for its independence, to preserve the independence and to continue to exist as an independent and sovereign state. We are very grateful on behalf of our community in South Florida and on behalf of millions of Ukrainians. Thank you for the document that we are honored to accept today. And we would like to invite everyone to the Ukrainian Culture Festival that is taking place this coming Saturday in downtown West Palm Beach, thanks to the support of West Palm Beach City. And this is a family-friendly event for all ages. We would be really honored to have you as the visitors. I will spread these flyers, leave them with commissioners, and they will be more at the exit. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this gives me great pleasure to celebrate and recognize Gregory Mihalko. Gregory, is he here? Come on up, Greg. Who was Gregory is celebrating 50 years of service to the city. Greg, at the risk of embarrassing you, I'm going to say a few nice things about you, if you don't mind, sir. Greg was born in Pennsylvania and moved to Florida with his family soon after graduating from high school. Shortly after that, he was hired by the city on August 12, 1974. Greg currently occupies the position of Parks Maintenance Operations Coordinator for the Department of Parks and Recreation, a position he has occupied for the last 13 years. Through his 50 years with the city, Greg has worked for the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Department of Public Utilities, occupying several positions including Laborer 1, Laborer 2, Park Foreman 1, Park Foreman 2, Parks Maintenance Supervisor 2, Public Utilities Project Specialist, and Public Utilities Operations Coordinator. In his early years with the city, he showed an entrepreneurial side while raising a family, and by doing side jobs, mowing and caring for many yards throughout the city and area. Because of his time with the city, Greg has extensive institutional knowledge which helps with park design, renovations, and maintenance. Greg is the city's arborist. His passion has been to protect the city's urban forests, and he tries to save trees when residential developers want permission to cut down healthy trees. His favorite tree in the city is the Gumbo Limbo at South Olive Park. Greg is a proud father and grandparent, 3 grandkids, who travels on vacation to Jacksonville to visit them and lights up when he talks about his family. Greg is a woodworker. He makes wood pins and bowls. A leather worker. He makes leather designs on belts. A master scuba diver and an avid cyclist. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity and thank Gregory Mihalko for 50 years of service to our great city. Gregory, thank you. You're free to say a few words, sir.
It is, you got me all choked up, Mayor.
Good, good.
It really has been my honor and privilege to work for the city for this long. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would do this, but I just couldn't tear myself away. It's just been a privilege to serve the residents and to do the job that I do because, in all honesty, the people that I work with are just absolutely fantastic. And you can't be here this long without good people that you really know and love and call family. So I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your service. Thank you.
Yes, wow.
Commissioners, a fun fact, we did the research, 60% of our employees have been with the city for 5 years or more. Now, when Gregory resigns, it's probably going to skew the results, but it just says something about the culture that we have built here at the city that so many people have stayed here so long. So it's wonderful to acknowledge 50 years. I don't know if anyone's going to break that record. All right, Commissioners, I will entertain a motion on the consent calendar, items 8.1 through 8.5. Do we have any cards on consent? Okay. Items 8.1 through 8.5. Any comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of the items on consent.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.1, resolution number 171-24, authorizing the replacement of the city's remarketing agent on the Florida Utility System Variable Rate Revenue Bonds, Series 2008C.
Good evening,
Souffrant.
Mayor, Commissioners. Bridget Souffrant, Chief Financial Officer. We were notified by PFM, our financial advisor, that Citigroup Global Markets has chosen to change their business model and no longer will provide the remarketing for municipal bonds. As our advisors, and as is past practice on these types of issues, PFM prepared an RFP and released it to the public to receive proposals for a new remarketing agent. We received proposals from 7 different entities, and based on the fee, their capability, and experience in the market, we are recommending moving forward with JP Morgan. Having these utility system variable rate revenue bonds, we anticipate with this change in our remarketing agent saving an estimated $35,000 in fees in public utilities. I do have Sergio here from PFM if there are any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions, commissioners? All right, thank you for that presentation. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Oops, sorry. Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 171-24.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.2, resolution number 123-24, establishing and appointing members to a 10-member Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, establishing the term of office and waiving conflicts of interest. Ms. Ferriel.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners, members of the public. Jennifer Ferriel, Housing and Community Development Director. As you are aware, the City of West Palm Beach, we are a recipient of state funding housing programs known as the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program, known as SHIP. And as a condition of receiving SHIP program funds, the city is required to establish an Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And essentially, the purpose of this advisory committee is to review any existing policies, procedures, land development regulations in support of affordable and workforce housing, and recommend any specific actions that will encourage or facilitate the production of these units. And some of the areas of review that the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee may be looking at is, what is the city's expediting permitting process, and how can we potentially enhance that? Are there any fee modifications or fee waivers that we can review so that we can reduce the cost of developing affordable housing? Is there any allowances or flexibilities in existing density bonus or height bonuses programs within the city that could, again, enhance or facilitate affordable and workforce housing? And I can anticipate that our AHAC board will be very busy because a lot of these things are already in place, and that we'll have a lot to look at. I also look forward to them potentially making some recommendations that will be brought forward to this governing body for consideration. In accordance with the state statute, the AHAC must have at least 8 members and 6 with at least representation in 6 of the categories that are identified in the state statutes. We'll talk a little bit about that shortly, but we are also proposing a term for this committee of no more than 3 years. As I previously stated, the AHAC committee must be comprised of specific areas or specific criteria that these individuals must be able to fall into. So with that, I'll discuss the proposed members. Claudio Costa, he is a land development manager for Lennar Homes, and he represents the category of a citizen who's actively engaged in residential home building industry in connection with affordable housing. As we know, Lennar Homes has provided some affordable housing throughout the state. Suzanne Cabrera, who is the Executive Director of Housing Leadership Council of Palm Beach County. She is a citizen who is actively engaged as an advocate for low-income persons in connection with affordable or workforce housing. We wanted to include a variety of developers in our AHAC board just to ensure that we had great input from the development community, as they will ultimately be the ones that will be producing these units. From Affiliated Development, Nick Rowe, who's the president and co-founder, his organization, they primarily focus on workforce housing development. Jordan Rathlev with Related Southeast, related companies, he's a senior vice president. They do a lot of affordable, a lot of workforce, and market rate housing in our city. Jordan Davis, he is the acquisitions manager for Related Urban, part of the Related Group, and they also are a for-profit provider of affordable housing locally and in the state of Florida. We also wanted to ensure that we had nonprofit providers and that we had strong representation in that sector. So Terry Murray, who's the Executive Director of Neighborhood Renaissance, and also Carol Jones-Gilbert, who is the CEO of the Palm Beach County Housing Authority. All are individuals who have worked with the city in support of these efforts. William Corriente, who is the planning board member for the city of West Palm Beach. He will be a citizen who currently serves on our local planning agency. Nick Bixler, who is a city resident, and also he spearheaded an organization known as Connect West Palm Beach. He is the founder of that organization. He is a resident or a citizen who resides within our local jurisdiction. And lastly, we are required to have an elected official from our jurisdiction, and Commission President Shalonda Warren has agreed to serve on this board with us. Wait, no, the president's changed. Commissioner Ward, I'm so sorry. I think I started this presentation long before it was presented today, so my apologies. So, given the nature of the board and the requirements, there are 5 proposed members who currently have business relationships with the city, and therefore there may be a potential conflict of interest. Nick Rojo, Jordan Rathlev, Jordan Davis, Terry Murray, and Carol Jones Gilbert are all affordable or workforce housing developers within our city. They all have contractual relationships currently or previous with the city. And so there may be, again, a potential conflict of interest. We spoke with our city ethics official, Norm Ostral, and he did provide an opinion which indicated that they did have to disclose their contractual relationship and provide the required ethics form, and that the city commission may waive that potential conflict by a supermajority vote. So once it's disclosed, if the city commission decides to move forward with the proposed members, you may waive that specific conflict of interest. So again, should City Commission approve this resolution, we plan to move forward with the meetings. Those meetings will take place in September, October, and November, in which we will review all of the existing policies in support of affordable and workforce housing. There will be a recommendations report that will be materialized, that will be presented to this governing body, and we anticipate to do all of this before December of this year, or by December of this year. And with that said, staff, we respectfully recommend approval of this resolution establishing the AHAC board and the 10 members, waiving the conflict of interest, and authorizing the mayor to execute any documents necessary to facilitate the activities of this committee. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you for that presentation. Commissioner Baduzzi and Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. I have 2 quick questions. So is it Commissioner Warren or is it President Ward who are going to be on this committee?
It is Commissioner Warren.
Okay. And when I was on this committee prior to holding elective office, I know that there was categories of people, just as you went through, that were to be included, and I noticed they're different from when I was on it. Who comes up with those categories? Was it us or was it the state?
The state of Florida.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fox.
Thank you so much. I think it's always a good idea for us to be able to review the policies and make sure that we have the best ones, especially in terms of affordable housing. You know, obviously we have goals to meet. But I have a question in terms of just some of the things that you mentioned that they would be discussing and the objectives. Just for example, I've been working with a developer project that we all supported in the warehouse district, and they purchased land that had a lot of liens, and I would much prefer that they were able to put the additional money back into the project and forgiving the liens and things like that. So I'm just curious, when you talked about the fee waivers, is that what you had in mind, or is there a way for us to make recommendations to this committee for things we would like them to review to make sure that we're on track? Or I guess, how does it work in terms of what the subject matter will be? Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a great question and a great point. So yes, the state of Florida does prescribe certain requirements, certain things that we have to look at. But from the city's perspective, we want to look at all of it. So this is a great suggestion. And I believe the Assistant City Administrator, Mr. Fana, and I, we discussed how do we use potential waivers of these code liens as a way to incentivize, or maybe to create additional units. Maybe it is a workforce housing project where we've negotiated 20 units, but maybe the being able to waive a code lien would now result in an additional 2 units or an additional 3, or a greater flexibility or affordability period. So there's some things that are prescribed, but this is a great idea and something that we could absolutely look at to come up with some sort of methodology that could be presented to you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm excited to see a wide variety of appointees to this committee. My question relates to waiving of the conflicts of interest. I mean, definitely have some stellar individuals who are well-known for their work in workforce housing, but I was just wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how you selected them and why waiving these conflicts of interest will not be a problem moving forward on the committee.
Right. So again, the nature of the composition of the AHEC Advisory Board, there are specific tailored categories that we have to adhere to. And so what we looked at, we wanted to make sure that there were folks who have worked with the city, that understand the land development regulations, understand the policies that we have in place, understand what it takes to build affordable and workforce housing, and that they could provide recommendations that we could actually utilize and implement and move forward with. The conflict lies here because they do business with the city. The majority of these developers have received either funding or waivers or density bonuses for various projects. So there's a contractual by nature, given the state law and the local laws, that there is a contractual relationship that we have to disclose. Now, why we can move forward with the waiver is because it's an advisory board. Right, they are providing advice, and that's ultimately going to go in a report that will be presented to you. They're not making approvals on their own projects. They're not making approvals to waive any or receive any funding for their own interest. Overall, they're looking at the whole scope that may ultimately impact some future projects that they may have, but they're not making funding recommendations or any recommendations on their specific projects. Hence why, once we've made it a public knowledge that this contractual relationship exists, you have the ability to waive that if you feel like it is something that you'd like to do.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that and understanding that their experience will be an asset to this advisory committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, move approval of resolution number 123-24.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.3, resolution number 169-24, authorizing the acquisition of real property located at 611 56th Street for the purchase price of $231,589, and resolution number 185-24F, amending the local housing trust fund to provide appropriations for the acquisition of real property located at 611 56th Street. Ms. Farrell?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, for the record, Jennifer Ferriel, Housing and Community Development Director. A little bit of a background on what's being proposed. By Resolution 2338, the Community Redevelopment Agency Board approved the CRA staff to establish a line of credit with Valley National to fund various strategic acquisitions throughout the CRA districts. Additionally, the CRA Board also authorized Resolution 2435 to acquire specific properties along the Northwood Pleasant City District, particularly on the Broadway corridor. And as you can see here in the map that is provided, you will see in the red that the CRA is moving forward or has been approved to move forward to acquire these specific properties. Now, the subject line, or the subject parcel, which is located at 611 56th Street, falls outside of the CRA boundaries or the CRA district. So in support of the CRA's efforts, the city is moving forward with, or is proposing to move forward with, acquiring such property in an amount of $231,589. The city intends to use the Housing Trust Fund dollars for the acquisition and all related costs. And again, the subject parcel further the city's goals, the CRA's goal, and as it also may provide additional affordable and or workforce housing in our city. Some of the terms of the purchase and the sale agreement: of course, the property will be purchased as is. There will be some due diligence period that will take place. We'll have some inspections completed prior to closing. There is a closing date of September 16th, so we have a little bit of under a month to be able to finalize some of our due diligence items and to ensure that all of the seller's representations and warranties are true and correct, and that we have met all of our conditions to close. With that said, staff recommends moving forward with approval of Resolution 16924, authorizing the acquisition of the property and establishing a funding mechanism in the Housing Trust Fund to provide for appropriations to acquire the property. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions, comments, commissioners? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, move approval of resolution number 169-24 and resolution number 185-24F.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 10.1, public hearing of resolution number 177-24, establishing the rates for the fire service assessment fee for fiscal year 2024/2025 and approving the assessment roll. Ms. Souffrant?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Bridget Souffrant, Chief Financial Officer. Resolution 177-24 before you this evening establishes the rates for the fire service assessment fee for fiscal year 2024-2025 and approves the assessment roll. This fee is remain unchanged and has remained unchanged since 2020. As a reminder, there are 5 property use categories that are charged the fire assessment fee. Your main item is your residential at $100 per dwelling unit, and the other 4 categories have a fee per square foot. Again, all fire assessment service fees proposed tonight are set to remain unchanged. Staff recommends approval of the resolution tonight establishing the fire service assessment fee for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments, commissioners? Any cards? Oh, Commissioner Fox?
Thank you so much for the presentation. I know that we had a workshop discussing the fire assessment fee and what we would go towards the things that are in the budget that will be included in the fire assessment fee. But I'm wondering if there will be, I know that we're kind of just going through the budget season right now, but will there be another time for the public to understand what is actually in the budget for the fire assessment fee? That what the categories of things that will be that the fee will be used to besides, you know, the different things that are in the general fund, and then we have a separate category. And I know that we recently went over it during a workshop, but just in case, you know, residents didn't have an opportunity to watch it or they wanted to see it in real time, I just wanted to find out if this would be, as we go through the budget season, will there be another opportunity for residents to see what's in the fire assessment fee budget?
So during the public hearing, we can cover it from a very high level, meaning probably one slide that we can cover and explain what's in the present budget for the fire service fee, if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
Okay. Otherwise, I can also explain some of the acceptable uses of the fire assessment fee presently, if you would like.
That's okay. If we're going to have it later in the budget season, I just wanted to make sure that residents would have the opportunity to know more about it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, move approval of resolution number 177-24 with no increase in the fire service assessment fee.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10.2, public hearing of resolution number 178-24, adopting the assessment roll for the chronic nuisance assessment for fiscal year 2024/2025, which includes properties with unpaid charges for the abatement of code violations and chronic nuisance. Who's addressing this item? Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Averill Smith, Assistant Chief Financial Officer. This resolution presents the chronic nuisance assessment roll for fiscal year 2024 and 2025 for your approval. As a reminder, at the July 18th Special Commission meeting, Resolution 141-24 directed the CFO to compile the list of unpaid chronic nuisance service charges to become a special assessment against the related properties. This special assessment shall be equal in rank and dignity to the lien for ad valorem taxes. Attached is a list of affected properties and the corresponding amount owed. Staff respectfully requests approval of this resolution. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for that presentation. Any questions, comments?
Mayor.
Yes, President Moore.
This is more of a legal question for Ms. Rothenberg, but when it comes to these properties, if there's a mortgage on the property, is this instance, do we still go and try to enforce it, or what's the process?
These liens, as stated by Ms. Averill-Smith, are superior in dignity to other liens like a mortgage, and we generally don't institute actions like a foreclosure, which could be something you could do for liens that are so small, but it certainly is something that could happen. They generally pay them as part of their regular tax assessments.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 178-24.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now, Commissioners, item 10.3, as the City Administrator previously stated, needs to be continued to September 30th, and I need a motion to that effect, please.
Mayor, I move to move item 10.3 to the September 30th City Commission meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Mayor, if I may add a suggestion to, in addition to the motion, so that we don't have to republish,
Okay.
if you would include in your motion that it's scheduled to begin at least by, the item will be called by 5:01, and the location is the City Commission Chambers, 401 Clematis Street.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move item 10.3 to the September 30th City Commission meeting scheduled to begin at 5:01 p.m. at City Hall, 401 Clematis Street.
Yeah, the matter will be, just an amendment to your motion, that the matter will be called by 5:01, but the commission meeting will commence at 5.
The matter will be called by 5:01.
Why don't we restate the motion so it's clear for the record, please?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move item 10.3 to the September 30th City Commission meeting scheduled to begin at 5:01 p.m., to be heard at 5:01 p.m. at City Hall at 401 Clematis Street.
Is that sufficient, Madam City Attorney?
It is sufficient.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 10.4, resolution number 159-24, authorizing the disposition of property located at 386 South Tamarind Avenue, 810, 818, 826, 860, and 910 Ivernier Street, and 913 Fern Street in West Palm Beach, and public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5104-24, approving the execution of a conveyance agreement for the property. Mr. Warrior.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission. My name is Harvey Oyer. It is indeed a pleasure to be here this evening on behalf of Vanderbilt University with two requests before you, a resolution for the disposition of land and the first of two readings on an ordinance for the conveyance of that land to Vanderbilt University to create a graduate business school campus. Let me set the stage here for what the ask is this evening and the property that we are discussing, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues from Vanderbilt University. So the city-owned land is the mustard color land between Ivernier and Fern Street and bounded on the east by Sapodilla, west by Tamarind. Across the street in the light blue is the county-owned land. We will go to the county commission tomorrow to hopefully receive direction from the Board of County Commissioners to their staff to negotiate a very similar agreement to what was unanimously passed 2 years ago to authorize the University of Florida to build a graduate campus in the identical location. Our request of you this evening is nearly identical to the request 2 years ago for the University of Florida, and that is for the City of West Palm Beach to donate the land to the university to allow the construction of a graduate school campus. In particular, it is Resolution 159-24, as the mayor stated, authorizing disposition of the city-owned property. I won't read the addresses to you. And the first of two readings of Ordinance 5104-24, which approves the execution of a conveyance agreement by the city for the property. Should we be fortunate enough to earn your support this evening, we will be back in 2 weeks for the second reading of that. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Vice Chancellor of Vanderbilt University, Mr. Nathan Green, and he is joined by a group of the senior staff of the university, as well as alumni and other member of their Board of Trust and a number of members of our community. So with that, Nathan.
No, before we do that, let us hear from our city attorney, who will kind of give us staff's version of the same story. Hopefully.
Yes.
At the pleasure of the commission, I can pull up the city's presentation that kind of outlines an outline that I have, or I can just give it to you verbally. But in essence, the resolution that is before you is the resolution that you all are required to do, that number one, declares the property to be surplus, and number two, chooses the entity with whom you would like us to negotiate. So that's Resolution 159-24. The ordinance it's referenced is 5104-24, and what that ordinance does is authorizes the continued negotiations of a conveyance agreement. I also have summarized some of the major terms of the conveyance agreement that are being proposed for your consideration. And then ultimately, the ordinance would authorize, once that the conveyance agreement is fully negotiated, would authorize the mayor to allow us to execute that agreement together with the warranty deed and any other documents that are necessary for closing and for perfecting all of the requirements of the conveyance agreement. At your pleasure.
Let's go through your full presentation.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to attempt to bring this down without ruining Mr. Oyer's presentation. Do you want to? So the property is outlined in red, city-owned parcels that are surrounded by Avonia Street, Fern Street, Sapodilla, and Tamarind Avenue. I went through the major portions of the resolution and ordinance. Another thing that the ordinance requires is 4 out of 5 votes in order for it to be adopted at either first or second reading. The ordinance would not take effect until 31 days after the final adoption of that ordinance, to give the public an opportunity to oppose if they did through an initiative process. The conveyance agreement that is attached to the agenda item, that is fully fleshed out, at least for the major legal points, includes a donee who is Vanderbilt Education Florida LLC. It's an entity that was formed by Vanderbilt University for the purpose of engaging in this venture. That one of the pieces of consideration of the agreement itself is that the property would be used for higher education, and that there's a commitment by the university to provide an innovation program which would allow West Palm Beach residents and businesses to interact with and to take part in some of those programs. There are several use restrictions on the property. The campus, it's limited to a campus use, which is this, again, the higher education use. There's a few complementary uses that are allowed also. Those are things like your bookstore, food service, and other things that are complementary and auxiliary to the campus use itself. That particular auxiliary use is limited to 25% of the total construction of the buildings that would start to be calculated at the 10th year when they anticipate that much of the construction would be nearly completed or finally underway. There's also a construction condition that the property would revert back to the city if vertical construction hadn't occurred by the 5th year from the date of execution of the special warranty deed. And then there is a restraint on alienation where that there would be no transfer of the property that was permitted without city approval unless it were with certain identified affiliates of the donee, or transfer to another education use, or transfer due to a foreclosure. The effective date would be approximately October 4th, 2024, if everything stays on track. Following the effective date of an agreement, assuming that we're all on track, there's a due diligence period where the entity would be able to have a 120-day period to do due diligence to make sure that it's something that will in fact work for them. The end of that period would be approximately February 4th of 2025. There are several closing conditions. Those conditions have to be met within a 24-month period. They have to, number one, accept the property. They have to acquire the county property that they need. They have to acquire all approvals and permits for the construction, and they have to receive their donations or financing as they deem necessary. After all of the conditions are met, the closing would occur within 40 days. What happens and what remains with the property and the city's enforcement mechanisms include the reverter, the use restrictions that continue to run with the land. That land is slated to be continued to be used for higher educational purposes, no matter who ultimately obtains title subsequently. Finally, there's a restraint on alienation, the transfer that I spoke about that continues to run after the closing. And with that, if you have questions for me, that's fine, or if you'd prefer to hear from Mr. Harvey Oyer and the Vanderbilt team, they may answer some of your questions before you have them, and we can all answer questions jointly, whichever you prefer.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Baduzzi?
Thank you. Is our approval, and I'm sorry if I missed it, does our approval anyway hinge upon the county's subsequent approval? How do those, come into play, the county's approval with our approval process?
Whatever properties are needed by the Vanderbilt team for creation of the campus must be acquired. It's a condition precedent to closing.
So that whole parcel, all the parcels from
All
both the
parcels
county
that are
and
needed.
city?
Yes, would have to be either, actually, the wording is, it would be before or concurrently with the closing. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, now we'll hear from the Vanderbilt team. Unless, Mr. Oyer, do you have anything else to say before?
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the commission, my name is Nathan Green. I'm Vice Chancellor of Government Community Relations, and I'm proud to be here to represent our Chancellor, who is conducting duties on the first day of school in Nashville, Tennessee. It's that time of year again, as you all know. So he extends his greetings and looks forward to being with each of you here very soon. I think it's kind of important to know that where we got to where we are in this process. Many of you understand that that there was another opportunity a couple of years ago with another institution, a great flagship institution here in the state that didn't work out. At that time, the university, Vanderbilt University, was already engaged in its own evaluation of what its next chapter would be as a higher education entity. And through our due diligence and through our work, we began to understand that in this country, what is happening is a huge migration of talent and capital from the coast to a part of the country, for lack of a better term, a lot of people call it the Sun Belt. Texas, Nashville, a little bit of Atlanta, and a lot of South Florida. And we saw that talent, we saw that capital, and we saw that energy. and felt that that next chapter for Vanderbilt University needed to be here in South Florida. And so that began a journey for us. Who are we? Who is Vanderbilt University? We were created in 1873. We're a private institution. We're ranked between 13 and 15, depending upon your rankings. As one of the top universities in the country, we're a top research institution as well. Ranked 10th in research, 6th in research commercialization, higher than Stanford and MIT. We know how to use practical research that makes people's lives better and take that research through our Wondery, which is our innovation hub in the Nashville area, and turn it into a commercialized entity that creates jobs, creates economic prosperity. We do that, and we do that very well. We're proud to say in Nashville that we're, for lack of a better term, an anchor institution. With that comes responsibilities, obligations, opportunities. And we might not have that role initially here in this area, but it creates a value system to be engaged in the community, to give back to the community. And in our role at Vanderbilt University, we develop the future leaders of our country by engaging them in immersive projects in the community. And so not only do we have the top researchers, not only do we have the top faculty, not only do we have an elite group of freshmen, our class gets better and better every year, but we're committed to the community as large. Those are the values that we bring here to South Florida. And that's maybe the one thing that we're the most excited about. So what do we have in mind here in Palm Beach County? First of all, we want to double the size of our business school. And what does that mean? It means we're going to double the size. We're going to create a second campus here in West Palm Beach. Over 1,000 students, about 100 to 125 faculty. And in the first, the facility would be a little over 300,000 square feet. In the first 10 years here, our plans are to invest $1 billion into this community. We have and spend one of the highest rates on purpose on our students, their experience. That investment is why we are Vanderbilt. That same investment on our students, that includes the buildings that they learn, the people that teach their classes, will be brought here. This is not a satellite campus. This is a second campus. And the individuals from Vanderbilt who are getting an MBA at West Palm Beach will get an MBA from Vanderbilt University. We are passionate about the brand and who we are and what we stand for. And so whatever we do, it's going to be first class. That's the way we operate in Nashville, and that's our intent here as well. So a business school, over 1,000 students, with a focus on a lot of the technologies and jobs that West Palm Beach and Palm Beach County are becoming known for, and that is fintech, AI, data analytics, with a slight aspect of engineering to it as well. Well, why? Because at Vanderbilt, we believe in the interdisciplinary aspect model of our academics. Our different schools work together. So even though it'll be a business school, there'll be an engineering aspect to it, which we believe enhances the model and the experience for our students. We will also emulate what we call in Nashville the Wondery. It's an innovation hub. It's a collection of entrepreneurs, problem solvers, researchers, students, capital. It is the spark plug that brings everybody together and creates that economic prosperity that we are committed, the entire community feeling. That's what we do in Nashville. That's the same values that we would bring to Palm Beach County and West Palm Beach. The Innovation Hub represents our commitment because business schools in many ways are different than medical schools. Business schools, to be successful, must be embedded in the community. They must have relationships with employers and with community leaders. That is how they're embedded in the community. That is how they can create workforce development opportunities, internships. That partnership is what makes a business school a great business school. And for that reason, that's one of the main reasons why we are very attracted to this particular area, because it fits our vision of our business school. It fits the value of the university. So a business school, slight little engineering aspect, over 1,000 students, between 100 and 125 faculty members, with an innovation hub right here in West Palm Beach. But this is more. We're committed to more. And part of it is the community impact that we bring to Nashville. I'm the Vice Chancellor of Government and Community Engagement. We spend more time engaging in the community than we do advancing and protecting our interests before governmental bodies, because that's our value. So what are we talking about? I've spent the Chancellor, I think the first time the Chancellor came here to have some meetings was April 1st, in person. And over that time, I've quietly been coming in the community, meeting with many of you, meeting with community leaders to think, how can we, Vanderbilt, play an important role in this community beyond a business school? How can we weave ourselves into the fabric of this community in a meaningful way, realizing that the role we play in Nashville will be different here, especially initially, but we want to be just as impactful. So we've been listening to a lot of people. We've been talking to a lot of people. We've been thinking about how those experiences and those conversations are familiar and are similar to some of the ways that we engage in Nashville. Because we have a mission. We are who we are. We're not going to try to be something that we're not. And so we want to align what we're doing here. We want to aspire to engage in the community in ways that are similar to the way we're communicating and engaging in Nashville, Tennessee. So let me give you 4 areas of aspiration. We've talked to a lot of people. We've identified some prospective partners, and we're not done yet. The journey continues. The conversations continue. And we're looking forward to regularly coming back to this body and talking a little bit more about partnerships that have been realized and maybe plans moving forward. One, aspiration, and that is K through 12 education. Superintendent Michael Burke, we've had very, very preliminary conversations. He's been slightly busy here lately, apparently. The new school year started a week ago today, I believe. But what can we do to help there? One, we want to focus, because of a commitment that we made to the mayor and each of you, on West Palm Beach schools inside the city limits. Like a fellows program, a program that structured with our people in our innovation hub and with our world-class Peabody School of Education, that would create an opportunity for young men and women, even in the ages of middle school, to see and understand and have a mentor that understands what success looks like. And to create a program that is sustainable for a long time, very similar to a program that we have in Nashville. So that, let's say we do 25 a year. Over a 10-year period, you have 250 young men and women that may have gone through this mentoring program that made a difference. You've created a cohort of potential leaders that then go on to greater things. Working with Michael, we'd like to consider how we could help train on a countywide level and work with his guidance counselors, if possible, on increasing and bringing value to that pipeline of those people who are moving to the next level, whether it be tech school, whether it be community college, whether it be a 4-year school. In Nashville, we work with local guidance counselors across Metro Nashville schools to better channel their energies in a way to prepare young men and women, regardless of whether they go to Vanderbilt or not, to be ready for that next chapter in their academic life. So first, K through 12. What can we do to help with that? We want to explore that more. Here's the second thing. We've had great conversations with Ava Parker. My colleague, Eric Kopstein, Vice Chancellor of Administration, was looking at a lot of her campuses today with their provost. Ava wants to do some kind of workforce development, kind of retrain for individuals who are already kind of have a job but are looking for that next opportunity, looking to make that move, that mobile move upward economically. Our business dean, coming in later this week, is going to connect with her to see are there any ways we could do some kind of common curriculum that we could offer countywide. So you've got K through 12. You've got people who are already in the system, who are already feeling some economic success but want more. And here's the third area of aspiration that we've identified, that we'd like to dig a little deeper, and that is literacy. In Davidson County, in Nashville, we have a wonderful relationship with the Adult Literacy Council. There are segments of our community all across the country of individuals, a lot of them English language learners, that are not part of this economic success, that are struggling. We've worked in Nashville with the Adult Literacy Council, and we'd like to see if there's a way that we can work with the Literacy Coalition here that's run by a Vanderbilt alum from Peabody School of Education. And here's a fourth one that's come up. It wasn't on our radar before, and I can guarantee you we have a lot of different ideas on a whiteboard back in Nashville that we could explore. But the important thing is fit. The important thing is being an additive in this community and caring for this community and figuring out the best place for and role for Vanderbilt, because our role again here will be different than it is in Nashville. We realize that, but we want to be that additive. That fourth area of aspiration, the urban lab concept. We are a major partner in figuring out with Metro Nashville and with Mayor Freddie O'Connell, how do we handle traffic? How do we address issues like affordable housing? If these were easy issues, everybody would have fixed these issues. And we have researchers that are helping with data collection that then get turned over to policymakers so that we can figure out what should we do next on transit, sustainability. How do we make neighborhoods? How do we plan neighborhoods in a better way? Again, we're going to be located in this great city, but we want to have a countywide impact. We think it's important. And so there might be an additional role there in urban labs. It's come up again in conversations. How can we help? How can we be a partner? We do that in Nashville. We'd like to explore that here as well. So we're in the aspiration business. We're in the development business. And while we are talking to you about the construction of a campus, while we talk to you about economic impact, let's briefly talk about it. We had hired a third party to do an economic impact study. Many of y'all saw the study. The economic impact study is pretty clear. Frankly, we think it's conservative. For the construction of a campus alone, a $585 million one-time economic impact with the creation of close to 5,700 jobs. That's the creation of a campus. There's, in the study, and this is information that our colleagues from FAU and Palm Beach Atlantic and Palm Beach State College, who we're talking to and finding ways to collaborate, they'll tell you that our economic impact study says for higher education institutions, for every dollar spent, there's an 89-cent return. It's almost 1 for 1. Now, for top research universities engaged in R&D research, there's a Northwestern study that says for every dollar spent, there is a $5 return. That's how an innovation hub becomes a spark plug in a community. That's why we're not the short bet. No university is the short bet. We're the long bet. We're the one that turns a community from good to great to even better. And our economic study shows that in the first 25 years, there is a $7 billion economic impact. In the 50 years, 14, and in 75 years, over $25 billion economic impact with the creation of 103,000 jobs. We're the long bet. We're the ones you can partner with. We're the ones that'll be reliable and capable. We're the ones that as jobs become obsolete, which happens to every community, and technology is driving this ever change, we're the one that can help you mitigate that. We think we can be a wonderful additive in this community. We think we can work with FAU and Palm Beach Atlantic and Palm Beach State College. There are 27 other higher education institutions in Middle Tennessee, and we work with many of them now. That's who we are. That's the value we have, and that's what we're bringing here. And so I'm glad to answer any question. I tried to keep, we have a ton of slides, and I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize a member of our Board of Trust, Peter Marshall, who is here today and came to support this endeavor, this first step in the next chapter of Vanderbilt. I've got colleagues of mine here that are also willing to answer any questions you might have. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for that presentation, and I certainly appreciate your passion. It is quite obvious, and this is an exciting moment in time. As you've heard me say, my vision for this city is to build a community of opportunity for all. That is, in a nutshell, inclusive growth. Summarize for me, and I think you alluded to it with some of your pillars, K through 12 education, maybe to work with the state college. But summarize for me how my entire community will benefit from Vanderbilt's presence.
You know, Mayor, I think there's a key word in economic development for a particular community to make sure that prosperity is felt by every part of the community. And it's a struggle. It's a real struggle. Because like what we were talking about on the literacy side, there are members of our community that are struggling and they're trying to survive, but they're being left behind. And we talked about jobs today that are actually good paying jobs that are going to be obsolete and how we can mitigate that risk as a university. But there's one word you really got to keep in play, and that's you have to be intentional about it. You just have to make a commitment. You have to hold everybody accountable. One of the things that we announced about 3 weeks ago with Mayor O'Connell in Nashville is the National Innovation Alliance. You said, look, okay, great, you know, innovation, you guys throw that word around like it's going out of style. Well, innovation is an important part of that. What the number one commitment that we made in partnership with the mayor is that this would be economic prosperity across the board. So if you're intentional about that, Mayor, like we are with this fellows program as we kind of work through this process, and we're committed to that on the Innovation Hub, that intentionality leads to certain pillars and commitments that you're going to make that actually impact the kind of partnerships you have. Because if you're intentional about it, you know that you're going to need to do something that has the greatest impact, so it impacts who you partner with. It figures, you end up then deciding, well, what target groups do I really need to help for a long, you know, and it got aligned with our mission. A lot of educating going on here in these pillars of aspiration that we talk about, because that's who we are. You know, we're a large employer and an economic engine in Tennessee, and we play a role in workforce development that frankly, 5 years ago, we didn't play. But we now are, because we're being intentional about that growth. We call it balanced growth, prosperity for all. It's a struggle, Mayor. It's a struggle in Nashville. You know that. All of you know that from your years of experience. But with intentionality and for the commitment to the right groups, you can be successful. We think this some kind of commitment in K through 12 is important, but at the same time, over here working with the Literacy Coalition potentially could create opportunities where we reach out to other parts of the community that are being left behind, that never thought their interaction with Vanderbilt would ever exist in their lifetime. And so we're doing that in Davidson County. We'd like to give that some thought and see if we can do that here in Palm Beach County.
You will bring that intentionality to
Yes, sir.
West Palm Beach. Okay, very good. Any other questions? Commissioner Peduzzi, Commissioner Lambert, Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. I'll just be brief. Thank you for the presentation. I think it's really exciting having such a top-notch university interested in coming to our city. Certainly, we were disappointed that the prior one that fell through, but maybe this will be an opportunity for something even better. And so I think we're all hoping for that. And thank you for hitting on the one question I had. As you were talking, I was checking it off, and I was going to ask about the intended cooperation or collaboration with other educational institutions, higher educational institutions that are already here in our city and are committed to serving the people of our city.
Absolutely.
And so I just wanted to make sure that there is a commitment to not leave them by the wayside, to figure out how we can all work together. And I would think that some of those institutions, such as Palm Beach Atlantic, Kaiser University, and the other ones that are outside of the city, they're primarily undergraduate. That's what their main focus is, even though they offer, some graduate opportunities also. But maybe that's an opportunity to work with them, and not saying that you're going to be exclusively accepting people from the local area into the graduate programs, but hopefully there's a commitment to supporting those people that are from here and allowing them to remain in this community with degrees from Vanderbilt University.
I think as I referenced with the mayor, the intentionality of finding a way for all of us to work together. Look, these universities are doing an outstanding job. But even when Vanderbilt gets here, the need for workforce development, the need for a pipeline of talent with the growth of this community still probably won't meet that need entirely. We need to work together, and working together with an intentionality that I talked with the mayor about, we can be really impactful. Again, the secret to Vanderbilt's success is we'd love to collaborate. If you don't collaborate on our campus, you don't survive. You just don't. It's how we do business. And so that's what the chancellor would say if he was sitting here. Finding out what works, finding out, because we don't, Palm Beach Atlantic's a perfect example, faith-based institution. I mean, just a wonderful organization. I mean, it's a great university. We have two very similar, just down the street from where we are in Nashville, Tennessee, and we work together on a number of things. We talk about neighborhood issues and so forth together. We meet on a regular basis. We find a way to collaborate, because in the end, that's how you can be the most impactful. And so we're committed to that. That we'll have more people from the university besides my colleague, Eric Kopstein, who's here. We'll have 2 deans later this week that are going to be meeting with members, other higher education institutions. We're just getting started. Aspirations mean we got work to do, and we know that. But I think we're trying to find that niche. We're trying to find capable partners. We're trying to find something that matches something that we've done in Nashville that we know is successful. And we're also trying to find something that could be impactful and beneficial to the people of this area.
Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you. I have a few comments, but I will get to a question that I have as well. But I appreciate you providing this economic impact study. Thank you so much. I hope this is something that could be available to the public. I found it very informative. And something I read in here, talking about the impact of research universities on downtowns and midtowns of cities. It says here from a white paper that these institutions typically punch above their weight in terms of commercial outcomes. They produce more patents, licensing agreements, licensing revenue, startups, given their size and student population. It reminded me of an article that came out, I think it was the Washington Post, related to the Norton Museum, and just about the impacts of museums and educational institutions like this in our community. Right. And I feel just very blessed that we have this opportunity again in our city. And, Vanderbilt in West Palm Beach has some tremendous long-term implications, not just for West Palm Beach, but also for Palm Beach County. Not to mention the financial impact that you've mentioned that this economic study talks about. But I really believe in what you talked about, what the mayor asked about the full impact going beyond just the students and the faculty and really impacting our community. And I want to ensure our residents, as we are talking about public property, that I ensure that the economic growth that flows from this project benefits our entire city and not just the students that might be attending this school. Which leads me to my question, because you have talked about intentionality with the 4 pillars of aspiration. And so I wanted to know a little bit more about how you will identify those who will collaborate on this innovation hub, or within those. You mentioned Palm Beach State College within the 4 pillars and possibly another organization, but I want to make sure we're focused on our local entrepreneurs, women, and minority-led opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, we've met with, I think I have a meeting coming up with the Women's Chamber here very soon, I think this week. It's all a blur. And I was on the 5:30 flight this morning in Nashville. So forgive me if I start to mumble here toward the end a little bit. The Innovation Hub initial focus will be with employers in this area and with entrepreneurs and with people of capital to make those connections. But what we found with the Wondery is that there's this community benefit as well by bringing people together. It's a little bit of urban lab, a little bit of community engagement. It's an area of problem solving is what it's become. It's people, bright people getting together with an idea and a focus to fix problems, to offer solutions. They might work, they might not. but to bring people together in a meaningful way. But initially, the Innovation Hub is all, because it's a business school. It's all about creating that pipeline and those connections, empowering employers to then, if we bring fellows in as mentors, to provide internships for those young men and women that they never would be able to achieve. It's all kind of connected, and back to what the mayor said, with intentionality, it really works.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you so much. First, I want to ask, how was your ride with Rose Trolley last week?
It was fantastic. Thank you.
So after we had our meeting last week, he had another meeting afterwards, and he was asking how to get there, and I thought, well, I could walk you there, but it's very hot, so I'm going to just pick up the phone and call one of my favorite local businesses, Rose Trolley, and they came right away, picked you up.
Awesome.
And so I think my questions are along the lines of what Commissioner Lambert was asking as well. Our small businesses are really important to us. Our minority businesses are very important.
Absolutely.
That we, want to make sure that we're giving everyone in our community a chance. We talked a lot about, you and I, about the area that is just to the north of where the Vanderbilt campus would be, and that is one of my favorite neighborhoods in my district. And we want to ensure that we're inspiring a new generation of leaders to succeed and to feel that they're a part of everything that we're bringing to the city. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you might incorporate small businesses, if there's any specifics, but I also thought it was really interesting when we were talking, you mentioned you have in Nashville a partnership with the Urban League. And that coincidentally, when you were talking to Patrick Franklin from the Urban League locally, that his daughter went to Vanderbilt. So I'm wondering if you could also just talk a little bit about what kind of partnerships that might entail.
Patrick and I have not been able to, thank you for asking that question. Patrick and I have not been able to connect yet. We're working on getting together. Urban League here in Palm Beach County is something we're really, really interested in, because we're with all due respect, we're following the Urban League in Davidson County. They're leading on workforce development, and we're glad to be their partner. And frankly, we think the good sign of a leader is someone, when you see a great idea and someone's leading, to say, how can I help? It doesn't have to be an idea generated by Vanderbilt. We want to make a difference. And so that connection and what we've seen with the Urban League in Davidson County has been incredible. I referenced to the mayor that we haven't really always played in the workforce development. We're a large employer, so when people always used to say, what about workforce development? I say, look, we're for it. We can never find enough talented individuals, for some of our jobs here. And we're now kind of on the other side of the balance sheet, actually picking up the axe and going to work and working with community colleges. And so the Urban League has done a fantastic job. We like what they've done, and we'd like to kind of see if there's some similarities with workforce development plans here. Every community is different, so we don't know that it's the same partners and so forth, and we're trying to be respectful of that and trying to understand and listen to information. But that's an eager conversation that we want to have going forward. And we can see them playing a role in at least 3 of those, pillars of aspiration that we have, maybe all of them, frankly. And then your other question was about small business. The Innovation Alliance, part of the intentionality of making sure that everybody feels the importance of economic prosperity, is some of the largest areas of small business owners are African American and women-owned businesses. And if you make that commitment to those individuals, if you make a commitment that whatever we do in building an ecosystem like we're doing in Nashville with the National Innovation Alliance, the word innovation's in there, but it's the small business men and women that really create the jobs. And the key here, the challenge that Nashville has, is that we create these opportunities and they get to a certain point and they either can't find capital to make it to the next level in Nashville, or the ecosystem's not serving them, and they take that business and they move someplace else. Or they go out of business. And so that's the challenge that we're trying to address with Mayor O'Connell, and we'll bring that knowledge and those kind of lessons learned here to this process. The other thing, and I talked to Bruce Lewis, who's here, I think, or he was here earlier, is Vanderbilt's got to be as a large employer, we've got to be a model person to do business with. We got to be friendly to small businesses, and we've got a vendor program that's been very successful, been very intentional, Mayor, using that word again. And so whatever we do here, again, we're not going to be a hugely large employer like we are in Nashville, but playing that role as a role model so that if If a small business wants to do business with Vanderbilt, that it's a positive interaction, that it leads to more business, that it's not, you know, doing business with the federal government, which we do, and that's not fun, I'll just say. So that's the kind of commitment that we bring to this process. Thank you for those questions.
Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure to see you again, and I am looking forward to hearing more. We do recognize that the community, the area where the property is located, has been a historically blighted community. It's been blighted for many years. I am excited about creating opportunities for people from the community and stakeholders and those within West Palm Beach. There were some things that I did glean from what you were saying, and I hear you saying that we're working on skill development, working with MWBEs. You spoke about a fellows program, working with Ava Parker. Those are going to be very important for us to create educational equity.
Right.
That has not existed in this area before. So I'm looking forward to how we break the cycle of poverty and create opportunity with Vanderbilt being the leader and the pioneer that you are, and the things that you've done successfully. You spoke about investing $1 billion. Can you talk a bit more about what that plan looks like and the strategy that you have to utilize some of these businesses to create different opportunities for others?
Well, it's still kind of early in the process for us to say that we have a concrete strategy. We're still, I'm telling you what our intention is. I'm telling you, I mean, I think you should judge us by what we do, not necessarily by what I say. And this is how we act in Nashville. This is the value system that we have. We're bringing in attention to really engage in that process. So the numbers, $1 billion, if you look at the number of students that we have, if you look at what we spend individually on students on purpose, it is one of the highest in the country. And that's why we are who we are. So it's simple math that we're going to spend between a little over $100 million a year. And after we construct, and if you look at the construction of the building and so forth, it's easy to say that we're going to invest in year 10 up to $1 billion in this community. We'll raise the money. We won't be going to the legislature for appropriations for this particular project. It's not what we do as a private industry. And we have ambitious plans to raise the money as a private industry entity. And so it's just the ratio that we spend per student, which includes the construction, faculty, that student experience. It's the number of students and faculty member we have, which gives us an annual general projected spend times 10. It's $1 billion. And again, keep in mind, we care about the brand. So whatever we do, we care about it doing world class. We want to be first class. Everything we do in Nashville is first class. We're not going to deviate from that commitment here in West Palm Beach.
Thank you. I happened to be in Nashville last week, and I saw exactly what you're talking about. I saw the impact of Vanderbilt in the community. I saw Fisk University.
Yes.
And the
It's a great partner of ours.
Yes. And I saw that. I saw that there was a long-standing relationship with Fisk University, and I'm looking forward to how we can kind of emulate some of those successes that you've had in Nashville right here in West Palm Beach. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
President Ward.
Thank you, and thank you for this. It was a great presentation, and I think, you know, at least I can say this, and I think a lot of people can say this, is working with an institution of your caliber is a no-brainer for the city. I think it's going to be a wonderful, positive impact. And obviously, education is a really good economic generator across multiple levels. I just want to harp on something that I think we've talked about in our meetings. And, you know, Mr. Burke has done a great job with our Palm Beach County education system. We are doing well, and we are doing well as a city. But I want you to be mindful of and intentional about making sure that West Palm Beach schools, from that K to 12, West Palm Beach organizations are at the top of your list of collaborations, because I don't want to continue to see employees choosing other cities because their public schools may be better than our schools. I want ours to be the top of the top, just like a university of your caliber. And so I think you know that, I've said it again, but I want to remind you, and I think it's prudent of all of us and our successors, because this is a long-term partnership, that we hold your feet to that fire. I know you're going to be a willing participant, but that this backyard and these schools need to be of the same caliber, and I think we can get there with partnerships like yours.
We hear that loud and clear. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Yeah.
I have a question. I have a question for staff.
Okay.
When I reviewed the supporting documentation, there was a lot of things that were discussed that were not necessarily documented in the supporting documents. What are we doing as a city to ensure that all of the things that we're expecting now and discussing now actually come to fruition and are monitored and that they're benchmarks?
So what is in the document, we talk about in a general sense, the creation of the innovation hub that will be created based on what we've heard from the Vanderbilt folks on the community needs, the engagements and the relationships that they create with others. When we go back to between this reading and second reading, we certainly can put a little bit of meat on the bone, but it sounds to me like, and I would invite Vanderbilt back up if they want to add to it, the actual operational piece of how the university will operate is going to be the university operates like Vanderbilt University operates in Nashville here. And to the extent that we can capture that, we certainly will, but we will come back and let you know what changes we make to the agreement to attempt to do that.
Did you have a follow-up?
Yes. Can you elaborate on like our HCD or administratively? Is there anything that we're doing specifically for this?
You mean in terms of when the deal is totally penned and who will be responsible for it? Yes, generally speaking, the HCD division is charged with watching the properties that the city has leased or other obligations that continue on with. But an operation of this size also will include somebody on the administration team to keep an eye and make sure that all the benchmarks are continually in check and that they continue to provide what they've promised to provide in terms of the urban uses, the restraint on alienation, and the other obligations that continue with the property after closing.
This agreement will have the attention of the highest levels of my administration, including city administrator and the city attorney. It's a high visibility project, so we will certainly be keeping our eyes on it. And then it's also communication. I'm sure we will be in constant communication, whether it's with Mr. Green or other representatives of that organization, again, just to understand where things are. I don't doubt that they will be providing me and other members of my administration with periodic updates on their progress. This is the beginning of a journey. It's not the end of a journey. All right? Okay, now we do have, if you don't have any other comments at this time, we do have several cards. And I will, well, there is a card that we have from someone who doesn't want to speak. Michael Cuevas, I strongly support the conveyance of land for the proposed Vanderbilt graduate campus. We do have several people who want to speak, so I'm going to call out 3 names, and if you can begin approaching the podium as I call out your name, and we'll get this done in order. Dennis Grady, Ned Grace, and Ismail Erkan. Mr. Grady, Mr. Grace, and Mr. Erkan.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Dennis Grady, and I'm CEO of the Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches. The Board of Directors of the Chamber has given conceptual endorsement to the Vanderbilt University campus project proposed for the city of West Palm Beach and presented to you this evening. The Chamber believes that the 300,000 square plus foot campus will attract some of the best and brightest graduate students in the country. With a curriculum focused on business, artificial intelligence, and data science, the opportunity for partnering with local businesses, local government, and community organizations exists to create new entrepreneurs here in our backyard, and will also provide a strong local workforce. The local economic impact from construction of the campus will be over $500 million, as you were told this evening, and Vanderbilt will spend $100 million a year on annual operating costs. The city will have the infrastructure and people to expand its reputation as the Wall Street of the South. Two final deal closers, in my opinion. It's a graduate student campus only. The city's land is never at risk. The land will only be conveyed to Vanderbilt once it builds the campus, hires faculty, and enrolls students. If in the future Vanderbilt fails to continue performing, the land reverts to the city of West Palm Beach. We urge you to act strongly and be as excited about this project as we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grace.
Hi, my name is Ned Grace. As an alumnus of Vanderbilt University, I wanted to voice my experience with the community and the university. Not only did I go to Vanderbilt, but I went to school in Nashville, and I think that watching Vanderbilt grow over the years that I was there and since then has been especially enlightening to me. It's played a big role in what we're doing here in West Palm Beach. Everyone understands economic growth, but it's the cultural growth, it's the real estate and infrastructure growth, it's the global recognition, and it adds another layer to this amazing city. And I think Vanderbilt, my experience there was heavily focused on community engagement, whether it was, in all aspects of my educational experience, Nashville and Vanderbilt were synonymous. It wasn't Nashville or Vanderbilt. It wasn't a good school in a bad city or a bad city with a good school. And I think that's something that has only continued to transpire. When I went to college at Vanderbilt, a fraction of the students stayed in Nashville. As Vanderbilt has grown, the city has grown, and now I think it's an overwhelming majority of students stay and work in Nashville. And so my hope is that that can happen here in West Palm Beach, and I hope that you strongly consider this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Erkan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening. My name is Izzy Erkan. I'm a 2015 graduate of the College of Arts and Sciences at Vanderbilt. I'm a native South Floridian and a current judicial law clerk to a federal judge here in West Palm. And I've been asked to give some remarks about my experience at the university. I'm obviously a younger graduate. A little bit about myself. I was born in Boca to Turkish and Peruvian immigrants, come from a very low-income household, and I was a classic liberal arts major, another word for trying to figure it out in your early 20s. I majored in political science, music, and Spanish over my 4 years. I immediately went to law school in Boston, graduated in 2022, and moved right back home to start my legal career here. I worked at Holland & Knight practicing commercial litigation for a year before my current role. It's no secret the amount of wealth that could potentially come to West Palm Beach with this project and the investment that Vanderbilt would make into the community as part of that trend. But aside from the numbers that the university will bring, it's really the thousands of students and young professionals that it will attract to me that's the greatest investment to the community. Just this past week, I spent 4 days with 10 of my freshman hallmates in Nashville celebrating our 5-year college reunion. And while we were there, we switched majors a bajillion times. We played various club sports. We majored in completely different subject areas. And we played too many late night rounds of poker that we would care to admit. We call that collaborating. Now, the group currently is comprised of 2 soon-to-be doctors, 2 lawyers, an accountant, a brain imaging researcher, a neuroscience PhD, and a medical assistant and a software engineer. And the best part is that they would not tell you that about them when you first spoke to them, they would just tell you they were broke grad school students. So they'd offer to help your kids out with their own college applications. They would just go above and beyond to help you as a person. And that's really the type of students that Vanderbilt attracts. They're very driven, but they're down to earth and they're approachable. And that's the type of Nashville hospitality that we hope can make our way into this community. There's a reason I've stayed an active alum since I've left Nashville. I really owe my career opportunities and lifelong friends to the school. As I alluded to earlier, I come from a low-income household and really was only able to attend because of a generous scholarship the school provided to me. The only higher education debt I currently have is from law school, not from college. And the name recognition that the school brought to me to my resume really elevated my application to work in corporate law and now for a prominent judge. And I have no doubt that the university's local graduates would be able to line up similar quality jobs in the area upon graduation. As I've alluded to earlier, the various professional accomplishments of my freshman hallmates is a testament to the university's caliber as well. And yes, most of us were Ivy League rejects, but by definition, so is Vanderbilt. And that's its best feature in my opinion. There's a drive and a desire for growth that has preceded and succeeded my time on campus, in part because the university wants to be named in the same sentences as some of its older colleagues, but also because it wants to distinguish itself. And I see I'm running out of time, so I'll just say I have nothing but good things to say about my Vanderbilt experience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Three other cards, William Eady, Peter Marshall, and Bruce Lewis. Mr. Eady?
Thank you to the Commission for the opportunity to address you guys tonight. I'm a proud Vanderbilt alum. I've been a resident of Palm Beach for the last 10 years, and professionally, I serve as the president of Bank of New York Mellon for the business here in South Florida. A couple of the buzzwords I heard tonight from the Vice Chancellor's remarks were intentional and collaborative, and I've had the good fortune of being able to watch this project blossom from late last fall to where we are today. Had the good fortune of spending time with Chancellor Diermeyer and many of the leaders from Vanderbilt University, and it's been a true collaboration. They've spent a lot of time in this community, getting to know the folks, seeing how this project could be beneficial for the city, and that's just been a pleasure to watch. You know, Ned brought this up in his comments, but I graduated in 2008, and top performing students at Vanderbilt University typically matriculated to New York City, Chicago, London, for jobs right out of college, and being responsible for hiring at my firm, and probably speaking on behalf of the financial services companies that are down here in this neck of the woods, nothing would give me more pleasure than to recruit out of West Palm Beach. From a talent perspective, we're seeing a lot of human and intellectual capital coming down here, and keeping it in this community and making sure that we can hire those folks at the firms that we run would be a tremendous asset for this city. So I urge all of you to please put your support behind this project. I think it would be transformational for the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter Marshall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, members of the Commission. My name is Peter Marshall. I'm a member of the Vanderbilt Board of Trust. I'm also an alumnus. I graduated in 2014. I'm the CEO of Waldenbridge Capital, and I moved down to South Florida back in 2001. A lot of great things have been said about Vanderbilt and the opportunity here. One thing I'd like to say is just specifically talk about the opportunity that Vanderbilt gave me and what it enabled. When I was going my senior year, due to family financial issues, I wasn't able to pay for my school at all, and Vanderbilt gave me a full grant for my senior year that enabled me to graduate without any debt. That was very important. It allowed me to take a lot of risk really early in my career, and it led to a lot of success that enabled me to take care of my mom and my brothers. I'm eternally grateful for the opportunity that Vanderbilt provided me, the education it gave me, and what it enabled me to do in terms of being able to financially provide for my family. When I think about the opportunity here, like what Vanderbilt could do for West Palm is incredible. I mean, the amount of financial firms and just other businesses that continue to pop up and move down here as well, I think is only going to increase. And having an institution of the caliber of Vanderbilt and the opportunity that it creates for so many individuals, I think is something that's just really important for the city and would benefit all members of the community. So thank you so much for the consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bruce Lewis.
Good evening, Bruce Lewis, downtown business person in business for 30 plus years. Well, here we are again. Another wonderful opportunity for the city. I think that's testament to the great hard work and time investment the mayor and the commissioners have put into this. We just keep attracting things, which I think is a wonderful thing. But I want to speak from a vein that might address some of the comments that were made in the dais regarding small minority and women-owned businesses. I drilled down on Nathan, and we had a good conversation. But everything I asked him, he had no hesitation, spoke passionately about, and made an outstanding commitment. So with regards to small business participation, we talked about at every level of this project, from the design phase to the pre-con to construction, and utilizing suppliers, professional service providers, and obviously construction folks. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that these measures have to be accountable, measurable, and trackable. And he's agreed to all of that. And you in the dais, you've done such good work in the booming development scene here in the space that we operate in now. Let's not forget that you can exercise requiring a community benefits plan. You do have a BERT that's in place that can go to level 3, and that's all in, community outreach. And that process, those two tools, you can, much like you do in the development arena, hold them accountable to. I have no doubt, after talking to Nathan about a lot of these things, that his passion speaks for itself. Don't listen to what he says. Let's look at what he does. And let's use the tools that we have that you've approved through, consultants you've hired to help measure those things. But with that said, the one thing that I'll leave you with, and that is, the one thing that swayed me is that he's flexible about tailoring their existing programs to fit the fabric of this community. That's a tough thing, but he's willing to do so. Thank you. So with my support, I support Vanderbilt University.
Thank you very much. That's all the cards. Commissioners, any more comments, questions? Commissioner Lambert, Commissioner Warren.
Excuse me, thank you. One of the speakers struck me with what you said about Vanderbilt graduates would typically go to Chicago, New York, London, and while I am very proud of the conversation we had on the dais about the 4 pillars of aspiration and intentionality within community engagement, I don't want to lose sight of the academic programs and the academic excellence that you've committed to bring to West Palm Beach, so that West Palm Beach will be on that list of places that the graduates will want to stay in or come to from other areas. But the impact on our future workforce is amazing. I look forward to learning more about the AI and data science programs and the Innovation Hub in the coming months. Thank you.
Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this body has done a tremendous job in the last few years of supporting small businesses. And I would like to encourage that Frank Hayden be a part of conversations moving forward as well, to ensure that we are working very closely with our small minority and women-owned businesses that are in the community and being able to attract others. I think this can be beneficial in many, many ways, not just for existing businesses, but also to grow the base of West Palm Beach's business opportunities.
Thank you. Any other? Yeah, Commissioner Fox.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to end by saying thank you to Nathan for coming tonight. And last week, one of the things that was really important to me was community engagement, and he was willing to meet with anyone I suggested. I sent him a bunch of emails connecting him with the Downtown Neighborhood Association, with the residents of the Historic Northwest, and I think before I even got home to check my email, he had already responded to people making lunches and things. So I really hope that we can expect that kind of dedication to continue. I appreciate the outreach that you're doing to get to know the neighbors and hear more about what our community is looking for in a partner. That is fantastic, and I'm just really looking forward to continuing to work with you. I know I mentioned I live directly across the street, so hopefully you will be our neighbor soon. And with that, I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 159-24.
Second.
Do I need to make them both at
Well,
the same time?
there's a separate second part of that?
Do I do it separately or this together?
I would do them separate so that you
Okay,
can read the
all right.
ordinance.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Fox?
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 5104-24 on first reading and schedule second reading for September 3rd, 2024.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor? You have to
Yes.
read the ordinance.
Oh, you're right. It's an ordinance. All right, my bad. Okay. Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5104-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, approving the conveyance of certain property located at 386 South Tamarind Avenue, 810, 818, 826, 860, and 910 Avernia Street, and 913 Fern Street, West Palm Beach, to be used for higher educational purposes, authorizing execution of a conveyance agreement, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Now, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now, congratulations, Mr. Green. Look forward to continue working with you. Yes. Okay. Item 10.5, public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5108-24, amending the restated employees defined benefit retirement system to allow a change in beneficiary in certain circumstances.
Nancy Yurchek, Deputy City Attorney. This is a request by the Board of Trustees of the Defined Benefit Pension Plan. This is a plan it's actually a closed plan. It was closed in 1997. There's about 170 beneficiaries and participants, 9 active employees in the plan. The ordinance 5108-24 is a request to amend the plan to allow for a one-time change of beneficiary after retirement, change in the spouse or change in the beneficiary. As you may know, originally pension plans across the country did not allow a change in a beneficiary after retirement, but as our society has changed, there's many people getting remarried or other life and family events after retirement. Many of the plans have started to change that and now allow a change after retirement. So our members have requested such a change. The Board of Trustees consulted with the plan actuary. They've agreed that that would be a minimal impact on the plan. And so the board is recommending that the City Commission pass this plan amendment, and that's what this ordinance 5108 does.
Very good. Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, move approval of ordinance number 5108-24 on first reading and schedule second reading on September 3rd, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 5108-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 62, Personnel and Retirement, Article 3, Pensions and Retirement, Division 5, Restated Employees Defined Benefit Retirement System at Section 62-176, Definitions, and Section 62-195,
retirement allowance options, to add a definition for spouse, and to add the ability for a change in beneficiary under certain conditions, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing a codification clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now, we'll now turn to item 10.6. So since item 10.6, which is legislative action, and item 11.1 is quasi-judicial, we're going to have a single presentation. But before the presentation, I think I want to have us make our disclosures up here, and then we'll have the clerk swear in all witnesses. So we'll start with, looks like Commissioner Fox is ready.
As to item 11.1, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you. Commissioner Warren?
Thank you, Mayor. As to matter 11.1, I have not had ex parte communications, not received written communications, not conducted an investigation, not made a site visit, not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
President Ward?
As to item 11.1, I have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you. As to item 11.1, I have had ex parte communications with representatives of the applicant. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Commissioner Peduzzi?
Thank you. As to item 11.1, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, nor have I received any expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made a part of the record.
Madam Clerk, can you swear in all witnesses, please?
Would everyone wishing to speak on item 11.1 please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to read both of these descriptions. No, I'll read one. 10.6, public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5106-24, a request by Shane Brodnix of Urban Design Studio on behalf of Tricera PBP Property Owner LLC for a future land use map amendment to change the future land use designation of 8.39 of the overall 11.57 acres of the subject area consisting of two parcels located at 2751 South Dixie Highway and 501 Monceau Road from Commercial C to Commercial East CE. Actually, I will read the next item just into the record since we're having a single presentation. Item 11.1, public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 5107-24 regarding a rezoning to change the zoning designation of approximately 11.57 acres located at 2751 South Dixie Highway and 501 Monceau Road from General Commercial GC to Commercial Plan Development CPD, and discussion of resolution number 126-24 regarding the development regulations for the Shops at the Press Commercial Plan Development and granting a waiver of the zoning and land development regulations. The above reference requests are being made by Shane Brodnix of Urban Design Studio on behalf of Tricera PBP Property Owner LLC to create the Shops at the Press Commercial Plan Development. So we'll hear the presentation and then we'll consider these separately.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. For the record, Joni Brinkman with Urban Design Studio, representing the owner, and as well as as you know, I've historically done work for Palm Beach Atlantic University, which is also a part of this presentation. So the Shops at the Press, you're all familiar with it. It was redeveloped very recently, and we are now requesting a small-scale land use plan amendment, rezoning, and a parking waiver to allow for an additional use to be incorporated into the development order. Wanted to point out that the current owner, Tricera, actually recently sold the property last week. The new owner is WPB Press LLC, and we have provided staff with a new consent form and a copy of the warranty deed, so the documents will be amended prior to second reading. Again, the small-scale land use plan amendment is to change the commercial to commercial east in part. Part of this property already has commercial east land use along the entire Dixie corridor portion of the development. We would then be rezoning from CG to a CPD, which allows for the parking waiver to be requested, as well as to add a permitted use to the use list in the development order. We are requesting a waiver of 128 spaces, which is far below what the code would actually allow us, and there is a parking study provided that attests to the fact that that will function adequately. Again, what we are proposing to do is add the use of schools, colleges, and universities, public and private, as a permitted use within the CPD, which is allowed under the terms of your zoning code. Palm Beach Atlantic University has leased about 18,000 square feet in the existing office building, the Post building. They are actually in renovation right now to create their space, and it'll be used for educational purposes, which typically are not allowed in straight CG zoning, thus are rezoning to plan development. And they are intending to create a master's degree program for physician's assistants in medical science. The planning board did hear this at their July meeting, recommended approval unanimously of all the requests. For those of you who may not be familiar, we're located at the southeast corner of Belvedere and Dixie, the old Palm Beach Post property. There was a previous building kind of in the middle where the parking lot is now, the Penny Saver building. Remember Penny Saver? That was demolished. The most recent construction of new square footage is the Starbucks that's up on the corner. The existing Post building is the office building approved for office use today, and that is where the university will be located. And the old warehouse building and the printing press building is what we call the warehouse building, occupied by various tenants right now, including Joseph's, one of my favorite places to go, and a new gym, Pink Steakhouse, and some other retail uses. Just an illustrative graphic, again, of the buildings that currently exist on the site and the parking configuration. We are not requesting to build any additional square footage or change any of the site improvements with this request. It is really being done to allow for the university to go into the existing building. Again, the site plan, no changes to the layout, only the tabular data and to add the parking waiver. We comply with all the sections of your zoning code, and staff has reviewed and in your staff report attested to that. Again, we are asking for 128 parking spaces. Kimley Horn prepared a professional report, reviewed and accepted by your staff, and it actually allows for, in the assessment, 14 surplus spaces during the peak time. Your code requires that we address at least three of the waiver criteria, which your staff has reviewed and agreed we do. Again, the maximum 30% that you're allowed to request would have been a reduction of 263 spaces. We're only asking for 178 and still provide a surplus of parking. Staff has determined we comply with the design elements, the concepts of new urbanism, and a parking report prepared by Kimley Horn was submitted and approved by your staff. The small-scale land use plan amendment that's before you today is only for 8.39 acres, not the entire property. That's because of the fact that the strip along Dixie Highway is already commercial east. This brings it all into one cohesive land use designation. Approval of the rezoning is on the entire property to CPD of 11.57 acres. That's really my whole presentation. Available for any comments. We have a representative from Palm Beach Atlantic University here as well as our traffic engineer.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant before we hear from staff? Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you. I think it's exciting that we're hearing about more graduate education opportunities in our city. It's much needed healthcare education for these physician assistance programs. So thank you, Palm Beach Atlantic University, for that. My question is related to the parking demand study that was done. Interestingly enough, I just heard from some residents in surrounding neighborhood on the east side of this project across Dixie, related to just ongoing parking woes. And so I just want to make sure that we've done sufficient research and that 749 spots sounds like a lot, but I'd just like to hear a little bit more about the study.
Okay, Stephanie may need to come up. I'll try to address that first. You're familiar with the property. There is that parking lot on the west side that has a considerable amount of spaces on it. The prior owner actually went to the expense to, they closed the vehicular connection there and constructed above the tracks pedestrian connection, including stairwells and elevator. The office component, they are required to park in that area. And I know this was brought up briefly at the planning board. The current owner is adopting and will continue to implement as well a parking, it's called Paradise Parking, and there's an app that's a security on site. We'll be monitoring all the license plate numbers within the office building, which is, we need them to park on the other side. There will not be any parking issues, but they're going to be able to, their security, to take a picture of a license plate, and if that car is there for 4 hours during the day when the offices are operating, they have a program in process to cite that person internally. They know they can't park there. And eventually, that should alleviate any concern about the office staff parking there other than handicapped people. Stephanie, I don't know if you want to add anything.
If I could just clarify, so you're saying that there will be enough parking for all of the tenants and that there's a program in place that will ensure that other people aren't parking there, thus causing the tenants to not have somewhere to park?
No, the tenants are to park on the west parking lot. And so to avoid them parking on the east parking lot and actually creating some problems there, they're going to be having to park on the west, and this will assure that that will happen.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Guerra with Kinley Horn. I just wanted to add that in addition to the parking management system for the tenants, one of the contingencies that we agreed to was that 51 spaces, which would be the requirement if this space were to be utilized for office, would be reserved for the university on site. Anything above and beyond that would be provided by the university on one of their off-site parking lots, and they would provide the existing campus shuttle to the Rinker Athletic Campus in order to shuttle students back and forth as well, to provide additional off-site.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I just want to understand about the parking. That was going to be my concern too, because I didn't realize that was going to be such a big discussion tonight. But a few weeks ago, I had an appointment somewhere in that building, and they were talking about how there was some safety concerns in parking in that other parking lot that you're referring to. So I just want to clarify, are there right now 877 parking spots, but you're eliminating some spots, or what's happening to these? Why are there going to be less spots?
We're not eliminating any spots. There's a required amount if you calculate per the zoning code each individual use, and the university use is a different calculation methodology. So what we're doing is we're not eliminating any spaces. It's just that we have the program at the university where if there is an issue, they can shuttle people back and forth, but we are not eliminating any spaces or changing any of the configuration of the site today.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay, Commissioner Lambert?
Just to clarify then, so you have the 749 spots on site now. The change would require the 800 plus, and so you're asking for the waiver of these. Okay. Yes. And then I just want to clarify, you're also saying that there's a shuttle that would be bringing students to and from the main campus if that's where they live or had other classes or parked, so that could help alleviate parking issues as well?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. And then final question is just, I'm curious if after hours, if you have talked to city staff at all about possibly using this as additional parking for park and ride or trolley stops. You know, it is a lot of parking, and I don't know what could be done there, but if there was some kind of partnership with the city, I'd love for us to explore that.
We have not specifically discussed that. It was brought up quite a few years ago, and the owner at the time elected not to volunteer at the time. I can talk to the applicant and see if the new owner, to see if over time they realize that they are not using all the parking, but with a new owner coming in and probably, you know, they're going to try to lease every square foot, I think they're going to want to wait and see how it goes.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant before we call staff up? Okay, thank you all. Staff?
For the record, Angela Van, Planning and Zoning Administrator. The applicant did an adequate job of presenting the case, so staff would just like to enter their findings, that staff finds that ordinance number 510624 complies with Chapter 163 Florida statutes and complies with the city's comprehensive plan, and ordinance number 510724 complies with Section 9432 of the Zoning and Land Development Regulations, as well as Section 94207, which deals with the parking area that complies with the Zoning and Land Development Regulations. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, any other comments or questions? We do have a card on item 10.6. Catherine Strickler.
Good evening, members of the Commission and the Mayor. My name is Catherine Strickler, and I'm a resident of the El Cid neighborhood and the Secretary of the El Cid Historic Neighborhood Association Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to address the proposed reduction in parking requirements for the Press development and to express the concerns shared by many residents of our historic neighborhoods. Our community is proud of our history and preservation efforts, and we also support the sustainable growth of our community. However, we have narrow streets, and they also present significant parking challenges that are exacerbated by the increasing demands from surrounding commercial businesses. The residents of these neighborhoods have long dealt with this congestion and limited on-street parking near the commercial site of Dixie, and the situation has only worsened over time. The project that is proposed seeks a waiver for reduced parking, which, if granted, would likely place an additional burden on our already strained parking infrastructure. The current parking situation is far from ideal. Streets are often lined with vehicles, making it difficult for emergency vehicles, residents, and visitors to get through them. This problem is not just an inconvenience, it affects safety, accessibility, and the overall quality of life in our historic districts. By granting this waiver, we risk further complicating an already difficult parking situation that the city is aware we are having. The impact of such a decision should be carefully considered in light of the current conditions. It is essential to ensure that any new development does not exacerbate existing problems or degrade the livability of our neighborhoods. I urge the Commission to thoroughly evaluate the potential impacts of this waiver on our community. Consideration of alternative solutions, such as a more comprehensive parking study, creation of a permit parking program in our historic neighborhood, or other mitigation efforts, will be necessary to balance development with the preservation and functionality of our 104-year-old neighborhood. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you very much. All right, that's the only card we have, so we will take this one at a time. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you. I just had a question for staff. I know that in the last few months we passed a parking permit program, and El Cid was basically one of our target areas. I'm just curious, so if you could remind me how that program works. In other words, I hear the concern of the resident about parking on the narrow streets, but I wanted to just if you could confirm to me, I believe that the residents in Elsid were able to get a parking label or something, and whereas others couldn't park on the street, or could you remind us how that would work for their neighborhood?
Sure. Good evening, Armando Fana, Assistant City Administrator. The resident parking permit program is in effect. We actually recently created the kind of the overarching regulations around there in application. There has been some outreach to the LCID community about applying for it. There are some requirements that are within the ordinance, such as the percentage of vehicles that are parked after hours or during the peak times that are non-residents, and there has to be also, I think 70% of the residents have to agree to have the parking permit program, but we have not gotten a response back yet on that application process. But yes, the program is available and it's an option for any neighborhood within the city that meets the ordinance requirements.
Follow up?
So just to confirm, so when the resident is mentioning about the concern of having maybe people that are going to school or visiting the shops or whatever, parking on their street, we have something in place where we can prevent that from happening, but you're saying that 70% of the neighbors have to agree to it?
70% of those that live, the homes, the residents that live within the area that's going to be restricted, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lambert?
Thank you, Mayor. And my understanding is that this is a first reading, so there'll be a second reading. I don't know if the applicant has done outreach to the LCID and surrounding neighborhoods, but I would encourage you to do so before the second reading. If that has not taken place, I certainly want to make sure that we don't exacerbate existing parking issues and that we're providing adequate parking. And with that, Mayor, I'd be happy to make a motion.
Okay.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 5106-24, changing the future land use designation of plus or minus 8.39 acres of the overall plus or minus 11.57 acre parcel located at 2751 South Dixie Highway and 501 Monceau Road from commercial to commercial east.
Second.
Well, hold on. You got to read that second paragraph.
Oh, I'm sorry. This motion is based upon the application submitted, the staff report, factual testimony, the recommendation of the planning board, and the findings that the request complies with the provisions of Chapter 163, Florida statutes, and policies 1.1.5 and 1.1.6 of the city's comprehensive plan based on changed assumptions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk can read the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 5106-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, by changing the future land use designation of 8.39 of the overall 11.57 acres of the subject area consisting of two parcels located at 2751 South Dixie Highway and 501 Monceau Road from Commercial C to Commercial East. CE, declaring the proposed amendment to the future land use map to be consistent with all other elements of the comprehensive plan of the city, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Lambert?
Are we moving on to 11.1?
Yes.
Okay. I do have one comment before a motion is made, if I could, Mayor.
On 11.1?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sure.
Similar to 10.6, I just want to ask the applicant to do outreach to the LCID neighborhood. In addition, I would love to meet and review the parking demand report, whether that's with you all or with staff. And with that, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 5107-24, a rezoning to change the zoning designation of approximately 11.57 acres located at 2751 South Dixie Highway and 501 Monceau Road from general commercial GC to commercial plan development CPD, and schedule second reading for September 3rd, 2024. This motion is based upon the application submitted, the staff report, factual testimony, the recommendation of the planning board, and the findings that the request complies with the comprehensive plan and the standards in section 94-32 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. Resolution number 126-24 is to be considered for approval at second reading of the related ordinances at the September 3rd, 2024 City Commission meeting.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk can read the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 5107-24, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida, amending the zoning map of the City of West Palm Beach, Florida by rezoning two parcels located at 2751 South Dixie Highway and 501 Monceau Road, consisting of approximately 11.57 acres, from general commercial GC to commercial plan development CPD, to create the shops at the Press Commercial Plan Development, declaring this zoning map amendment to be consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city, revising the zoning map of the city accordingly, providing for an effective date and for other purposes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. It is now time for comments from the public. We have two cards, Sandy Makovich and D.H. Azard. Sandy Makovich.
Sandy Mekovich, West Palm Beach. I attended the internal audit meeting on August 5th and want to address the city commissioners. The internal audit reports to the city commission and not the mayor and city administrator. The IA, internal auditor, meets every couple of months, and the commission president was this month, along with Beverly Mahasa, Chief Internal Auditor, oversees the meeting. City commissioners seldom attend, and I was surprised to see Commissioner Warren in attendance. Thank you, Commissioner. Missing was Commissioners Lambert, Peduzzi, and Fox. This is something you were elected to do. Do your job. Commissioners, IA is your responsibility. The city can't fix problems if they don't know about it. It's the job of the internal auditor to find the problem, bring it to the city's attention so it can be fixed. Here's the bottom line for information. The IA department needs a staff of 7 people to run efficiently. It has a staff of 2 plus Ms. Mahaso. At the meeting, Ms. Mahaso stated, "I'm at a point where I am desperate for staff, and so I can't keep going behind the scenes and trying and not getting anywhere. And I state my primary reason is that I am extremely short-staffed." The city administrator reports to Mayor Keith James will not adjust the budget so the department can be properly staffed. This is a memo to Imogene Isaac, internal auditor years ago, from Keith A. James, president of the City Commission, dated April 9th, 2012, 12 years ago. It's a memo. As the new president of the City Commission, I hereby request that you comply with the following, effective immediately. 1. By noon of each Friday, please deliver to the Commission your work report for the upcoming weeks. Said report should include, at a minimum, any scheduled meetings or conference calls, and the specific projects upon which you will be working. When you describe a meeting, please indicate with whom you will be meeting and the purpose of the meeting. Please also provide the commission with the list of proposals.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You can finish it on Facebook,
very
it's
much.
okay. Thanks, Keith.
Mr. Hazard, or Ms. D.H. Hazard. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam President, and Commissioners. My name is Dorothy Hazard. I'm the president of the Storm of 28 Memorial Park Coalition, Inc. in West Palm Beach. We're a nonprofit organization, 501c3, and I'm here just to remind some and inform others that September the 16th, 2024, it will be 96 years since the storm of 1928 came through Palm Beach County. And we are in hurricane season, as you know. But also I wanted to remind you all of things that are going on, which you know, the commissioners and the mayor are aware of it. But other people in Palm Beach County and West Palm Beach may not be aware of it, is the corridor of Northwood going from Australian Avenue from the west to the east down 25th Street, past Tamarind over to US 1 and Broadway. And the mass grave that was put there due to the 1928 storm, and the Papa Cemetery is right in that area. And we, the coalition, and some other people in the community want to make sure that the mass grave that's there and the Papa Cemetery is not disturbed when they go down that corridor to connect 25th Street from Australian Avenue all the way down to Broadway, US 1, because some people may not be aware, and others are, that the mass grave in the Papa Cemetery actually goes under 25th Street there. And we do not want any remains uncovered because that would be not a very pleasant situation, because we do not want to have to reinter any bodies, because it has happened in the past when they've done work there at the 25th Street area where they have unearthed remains and they had to be reinterred. So I want to thank all of you for listening to me, and we are stating that if you need any further information, you can contact us by way of our email address, our Facebook page. Thank you so
very
much.
Ms. Hazard, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. I couldn't.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay.
It's Dorothy Hazard.
Yeah, I know you are. Before we go into comments from the dais, Ms. Johnson, can you cite how many positions are in the budget for the internal auditor? I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but.
Yes, well, there are 7 positions now in the budget. What continues to fail to be mentioned is that the number of positions for the internal audit office was increased. I think historically there had been 5 positions. We added 2 new positions to that operation. And in addition to adding the 2 additional positions, there has been requests from the internal auditor to have the positions classifications upgraded and the pay upgraded. All of those requests, have been approved. Now, it is accurate. It is a fact that I will not just unilaterally change the budget once the board approves an adopted budget, there is a process by which a budget gets amended. I continue to not be in a position where I am going to just unilaterally change a budget once the board adopts a budget. That is a factual statement. The city administrator has not and will not unilaterally change an adopted budget at the request of any single director. That's across the board, Mayor. That won't change for the internal auditor or for any other department head.
But we have not cut positions.
We have not.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will now go into comments from the commissioners. We'll begin with you, President Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to add, because I was at that meeting, and I think that the frustration when looking at what has been accomplished by the auditors and what was on the list provided, I think that the committee was frustrated that we haven't gotten enough done. And again, it goes to staff. And you're right, you have added to the staff and increased the budgets, administrator and mayor. And I think that wholly, if a department still can't find the workers, I think we have to start looking outside of what we've done to make sure that we can appropriately staff it so that we can get to some of these audits. And I don't want to speak on behalf of the committee members, but I think that's where the frustration stemmed, was looking at what's been achieved. And then also, I think that, looking at the report, it's hard to kind of comment on, okay, these were the things that were done, and this is what's in the yellow versus the green versus the red. And I had even asked, because I'm not an auditor and I don't have that background, I'm not an accountant, to maybe have a little bit more detail for, in those meetings about, okay, well, if something is in the yellow, this is really what, this is the backstory. And you had staff there that was attempting to explain that. And I think across the board, I think that that's a helpful thing to have, maybe a little bit more of a non-accountant version outside of just the paper and PowerPoints, that we could have that discussion of, okay, well, we did try to come into compliance. These are the things that we can't do, whether they're internal policies or HR problems or things like that. But wholly, if we continue to find a department where we have, we've increased salaries across the board, we've upped staff, and we still can't get those people, I think that it's incumbent upon us to look at, okay, what are we missing? And why can't we get these positions filled so that we can do the appropriate audits? Anyways, I do want to thank Ms. Hazard. We did have a great meeting about 25th Street. The staff did a fantastic job, and the consultant explaining what they were going to do and also addressing some of the issues from the residents. And Ms. Hazard was there as a representative of the committee, as far as making sure that if they were digging, they weren't digging too low, and that they would have someone there to spot and to continue to work with them to make sure that we were doing everything we can to be sensitive and make sure that we aren't doing anything to unearth any bodies, because the bodies do appear to be under the road currently. I just have a couple more announcements. Nights in Northwood Village, again, please don't miss it. It's on September 20th from 6 to 9. The last one was rained out, so we're hoping to have a big turnout. It's in Northwood in District 1. There's a native tree giveaway at Manatee Lagoon on Tuesday, tomorrow, August 20th, from 5 to 7. There's registration online with the Office of Sustainability, or you can contact my office. And then, as a reminder, please join the City of West Palm Beach and the CRA on Thursday, August 29th at 6 p.m. for the quarterly Pleasant City Community Meeting. The CRA will provide a presentation on the project updates for the Pleasant City community, and the meeting will be held in the Pleasant City Community Center. Thank you.
Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, President Ward, for the way that you navigated through the audit committee meeting. There was a significant number of high priority findings that had not yet been addressed, and the audit committee was very frustrated. There was a tremendous amount of dialogue and unrest, and it's something that I believe was a challenge to be able to navigate through and continue to move the meeting forward so that it was productive. But I do agree that there were some concerns that were had by the people that are on the audit committee, as well as knowing that we are moving forward as a city, but there's still so many things that we can do better, and being open to doing the best job that we can at all times. August represents national health observances, such as breastfeeding, immunizations, children's eye health and safety. It is National Breastfeeding Month to support babies and families. Election Day is tomorrow, Tuesday, August the 20th, and if you have not already voted, registered voters have tomorrow to pick candidates for the November general election. Homelessness in Florida. In Florida, the counties with the highest rate of children that are unhoused, Hillsborough County is number 1, Miami-Dade County is number 2, and Palm Beach County is number 3, with more than 6,000 children in our public school system that are unhoused. That is the amount of documented children that are unhoused. I think it is important, if you have the opportunity, to go to thehomelessplan.org and click to get involved. There are numerous ways that people can be active and engaged. It is not all the same. There's not one fix. There's an opportunity at thehomelessplan.org where you can choose the way that it fits your lifestyle best to be able to help as many of our children and the people in our community that are unhoused as possible. That concludes my comments with a happy new school year. Happy new school year to all of the students and teachers.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Mayor. It was great to see you, Mayor, and many of my colleagues at the ribbon cutting this weekend for the Clear Lake Trail. And I just want to give a huge shout out to all that were involved in bringing that to fruition, from our staff and also from the TPA. It was a great partnership. I've seen so many people from Roosevelt Estates especially enjoying it over the past several weeks, and it was great to actually get out there with you all and check it out. I mean, I think it's just leaving kind of the city behind, that you can see the skyline from the nature, but it seems like a different world out there. And so I think it's really something that's adding to mental health breaks and happiness. And so I'm really glad that we were able to do that cutting this weekend. The last few years, we've all, I think, attended the 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb with the West Palm Beach Fire Department. Are you doing it again this year? Let's do it. Okay, we should do it. It's sold out, so I was not going to announce that, but we could probably still sneak in. But they are holding this year an inaugural 5K run walk that is not sold out, and it will be held on Sunday, September 8th. For any residents who want to participate, you can go to WPB-911stairclimb.com. I'm definitely going to be there, maybe not as a participant, but as a cheerleader, but you maybe could change my mind on that. So. Then I also just wanted to also mention that it is Election Day tomorrow. Thank you for reminding. I've heard so many people that talk about November being the really important election, and it is. But tomorrow it is, especially I think since I have run for office, I just think you can't take it for granted. I lost an election by 36 votes, so there's no way to say that every vote doesn't count. And I think now, when we're all here on the local level, these are the important things that impact people's lives. You know, the local judges, the state attorney, in West Palm will be electing a county commissioner. And so I hope that if you're able to get out and vote tomorrow, if you haven't already, that polls are open until 7, and encourage everybody to have their voice heard. That's all I have. Thanks.
Commissioner Baduzzi?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to briefly mention again, since we're talking about education and attracting this great university to the city of West Palm Beach, let's not lose sight of the fact that we do have 2 great universities already right here in the city of West Palm Beach. And I just wanted to give a shout out to both Palm Beach Atlantic University and Kaiser University, and thank them for all they do for our residents in providing both undergraduate and higher education opportunities. And anything, you know, if there's something that we can do to help them with their mission that benefits our residents, I think we should look at that as well. And I fully support, obviously, anything we can do with regard to Vanderbilt University. I just want to make sure that we're inclusive when we're talking about helping the universities in the city of West Palm Beach, that we don't lose sight of those two great universities that are already here. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to comment about the ribbon cutting and the opening of Clear Lake Trail. I knew it would be beautiful and amazing to see this multimodal path, but what I was not expecting was these transformational stories that residents shared with us. I know a few of you got to meet some of the folks there, but two stories I wanted to highlight. One was a disabled veteran who shared with us that he had recently lost use of his vehicle, and so he had purchased a scooter to be able to get to and from his art therapy downtown at the south of downtown at the Armory. And he was, before the trail opened, he was having to take Palm Beach Lakes with this scooter. It doesn't sound like it's a motorized scooters, but that was the route he was taking along the way, and that it caused him more stress. And here he was going to the Armory for art therapy. That since the trail opened, he's been able to walk, enjoy, scoot along the trail, and he's stopped to take photos. He's taken video of the landscaping there, and that it has enhanced his art therapy that he's doing. And so I wanted to share that story because I thought it was truly amazing, the lives that we're impacting. And the second story was of a mom who was there with her two children, and she was so proud to share her story about the impact that this trail has made on her life. She said that she was actually talking about moving from this her residence recently, but that she started walking this trail every morning, and that she now cannot fathom moving away from this trail, that it has impacted her life so much. She has met a new, really great friend on the trail that they walk together every morning. The kids were there, super excited about it as well. And sometimes we lose sight of how these projects can become cumbersome and expensive, but really that it is all worth it in the end to impact just two of these lives as examples. And so the rest of my comments really have to do with outdoor programs as well. The Phipps Skate Park has reopened to the public. That has undergone some major renovation. It looks beautiful. I don't skate, although it looks very interesting, but I've been hearing from families who have young kids who are looking forward to that opening. So it is now open Tuesday through Sunday during their normal hours. Additionally, I want to thank resident Michael, who had reached out some months ago wanting to use the softball fields at Howard Park, and got in touch with our Parks and Rec staff, and they were able to do a pilot program where they opened it up to families and residents on certain days, and it was a huge success. So I'm excited to hear that that pilot program is continuing through October, and that the softball field is available for drop-in use by families and those who want to play on Fridays from 5 to 7 p.m., Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 12, and Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. And then finally, I just want to say congratulations to Gregory Mialko, the employee mayor that you honored at the beginning of this commission meeting, who's celebrating 50 years of employment. That was really moving. I saw a lot of head nodding in the audience, and people who were just impressed with all the accolades that you read off about his 50 years of dedication to our city, and that was truly inspiring. So thank you for honoring him.
Thank you. Just a few things. On this Thursday, August 22nd, the city and the U.S. Small Business Administration are holding a small business town hall, which will be at Palm Beach Atlantic University, Weinberg Center, in recognition of National Black Business Month. This will be an amazing opportunity for small business owners to connect, learn, and grow their business at this dynamic town hall gathering. They can hear from government leaders and industry experts on resources available to best support their business and entrepreneurial aspirations. There will be a fireside chat, panel discussion, and question and answer session. The event is already sold out, but will be aired on TV 18. Also, this Wednesday, mark your calendars, we will be having another Soul in the City installment, another enchanting evening of jazz featuring a talented jazz ensemble Noreen Downey and Dizzy Blue Band. This award-winning jazz artist would dazzle with sounds of premier jazz. The event takes place at the Lake Pavilion, 101 South Flagler from 7 to 9. For more information and tickets, please visit our newly updated website, WPB.org. Hurry up because the event will likely sell out. And has been previously mentioned, on Sunday, September 8th, the West Palm Beach Fire Department will host the 6th annual 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb and the inaugural 5K walk and run for charity. It's a solemn occasion to honor and remember the heroes and victims of the tragic events that unfolded on that fateful day. The year's 5K and 1 mile race will take participants on an out and back course down North Flagler Drive along the iconic West Palm Beach waterfront. In addition to the race, the event promises an array of activities for participants and spectators alike, including a friendly CrossFit competition. The proceeds from the event will support 2 remarkable organizations, Pediatric Oncology Support Team, or POST, and Operation 300. The event will start at 9 a.m. at 515 North Flagler Drive, West Palm Beach. And before I close, Ms. Johnson, please share with the commissioners, if you haven't already, the history of positions that have been added to the internal auditor's budget, as well as the salaries that for the last 5 years.
Will do.
Any suggestion that this administration has intentionally handcuffed the internal auditors or her office is entirely without basis in fact. We have not done anything to cut her staff. Now, she can't hire people based upon the budget. She's telling us what the salaries are, and that's negotiated during budget season. Now, she can't hire people. That's not administration's fault. And as Ms. Johnson says, we don't for any particular department director just willy-nilly increase their budget in the middle of a budget year. But during the budget process, she's made requests, and historically, we've added to the number of positions since I've been mayor, as well as the salaries. So the city administrator will share that information with you, but I'm just telling you, we have not handcuffed or hampered her ability under her budget to hire people. Now, if she can't find people, I don't know what to say about that. But I just know that if there was another department head that wasn't doing their job because they couldn't hire people, the buck stops with the department head. You don't say, well, my budget isn't enough, particularly when we've given you the money that you've asked for. So that's all I have. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the great city of West Palm Beach. Good night, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.